Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda and I'm from amandacrochets.com, and in today's tutorial I'm going to teach you how to make the Christmas shell blanket. I wanted to make something festive for the holiday season, so I came up with this beautiful blanket. As you can see, I use 4 different colors and I really wanted to bring out that festive and holiday spirit with this blanket. The Christmas shell blanket is 40 inches wide by 45 inches long. However, you can always change up the sizing of this blanket to make it bigger or smaller depending on the size preference that you would like. And I will give you that multiple in a few minutes. But like I said, you can change up this blanket size to be whatever size that you like. I just wanted something that was going to be a little bit of a lapgan type size blanket. So I really loved how this blanket turned out, and like I said, it's that nice little shell stitch. So let's begin with today's tutorial on how to make the Christmas shell blanket. So for the Christmas shell blanket, you're going to need some acrylic yarn, and I'm using Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn. And you're going to need 2 skeins of red, and this is a 7-ounce skein, or 199 grams. It's 355 yards or 325 meters, and it's 100% acrylic, and it's a 4 worsted weight yarn. You can use any yarn that you like. I'm just using this because this is what I have in my stash. Now another great alternative instead of the Hobby Lobby yarn is Red Heart with Love. They have a vast selection of colors. Or if you wanted to use Red Heart Super Saver as well, there's so many different yarn lines out there that have the same colors or similar colors that I used. So again, you're going to need 2 skeins of red. Depending on how big your blanket is, you're going to need 1 skein of forest, and that's that deep green color. I ended up using 1 skein of this for my sized blanket. And you're also going to need 1 or 2 skeins of mid green. I just used up 1 full skein of mid green, and that's that lighter green. Now again, you might need 1 or 2 skeins depending on how big your blanket is, but I ended up using 1 skein of mid green. And then I also have 1 skein of white, and then this is all I have left of that white color. But again, you might need 1 or 2 skeins. You're definitely going to need 2 skeins of that red color, and then for the other 3 colors, you're going to need 1 or 2 skeins depending on your gauge and depending on the size of your blanket. So just keep that in mind. And then for the hook size, I'm using a size J 6mm crochet hook today. So we're going to go ahead and start with the red color. And you're going to make a slip knot. So to change the size of your blanket, you're going to need to make a chain of a multiple of 4 plus 2. So that means you're going to multiply any number by 4 to get your desired width. And once you're satisfied with your width, you're going to go ahead and add 2 more chains to the very end. So for my particular blanket, I ended up making a chain of 126. So go ahead and make a chain of 126. Otherwise, if you want to make a small sample size where I'm just going to show you how to make the overall stitch like I'm going to show you today, you're going to do any multiple of 4 plus 2. So I'm going to do 4 times 4, which is 16, plus 2 is 18. So I'm going to make a chain of 18 today. So to make a chain, you're going to do yarn over your hook and pull through that loop. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 17, and 18. So once you have your desired width, then you can go ahead and move on to the first row. However, if you wanted to make this bigger or smaller, you wanted to make that chain in a multiple of 4 plus 2. And again, for my blanket, I ended up making 126 chains. Okay, so after your 126 chains or your desired width, you're going to make a single crochet into the second chain from your hook. So the loop on your hook does not count. You're going to count 2 chains from your hook, so 1 and 2, and you're going to make a single crochet. So insert your hook into that second chain from your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both loops, and that is your single crochet. Next, you're going to skip 1 chain and you're going to make a shell in the next chain. Skip 1 chain, and in the chain after that you're going to make a shell. And for the shell for this blanket, it's going to consist of 3 double crochets in that same stitch. So yarn over your hook, insert your hook into that next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that completes your double crochet. Again, yarn over your hook, insert your hook into that same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Again, yarn over your hook, insert your hook into that same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now you have 3 double crochets all in that same stitch. Okay, now you're just going to repeat this across until you have 2 chains left. So again, you're going to skip 1 chain, and in the chain after that you're going to make a single crochet. So skip this chain right here, and in the chain after that make a single crochet. Skip the next chain, and in the chain after that make your shell or the 3 double crochets in the same stitch. Okay, skip the next chain, and in the chain after that make a single crochet. Skip the next chain, and in the chain after that make 3 double crochets. Skip the next chain, and in the chain after that single crochet. Skip the next chain, and the chain after that make a 3 double crochets. Okay, and then when you get to the very end, you should have 2 chains remaining. You're going to skip 1 chain, and in the very last chain you're going to go ahead and make a single crochet. And then this is what row 1 looks like. Now if you are following along and you're making the same size blanket that I am with that 126 chains, you should end up with 31 shells in total. Okay, chain 3 and turn your work. So for row 2, you're going to make a double crochet into that very first stitch. So that's that single crochet from the previous row, which is going to be right here. You're going to make a double crochet into that very first stitch. Now that chain 3 that you made is going to count as your first double crochet. And I did forget to mention this, but if you are a new crocheter or beginner crocheter, you might want to put a stitch marker at the beginning and at the very end of your row, so that way you don't miss any stitches. So for the very first stitch right here, you're going to put it in the top of that chain 3, and that's how you know that's your very first stitch of the row. So you want to have your double crochet in the very first stitch, which is that single crochet from the previous row, and then you are going to make a single crochet into the center shell or the second double crochet of the shell. So here's your shell stitch, and you have 3, of course, so you're going to skip the very first one, and in this second one, the second double crochet, which is right here, you're going to make a single crochet. And then next you're going to skip the last double crochet of that shell, and in that next stitch, which is your single crochet, you're going to make 3 double crochets for your shell. So basically what you want to do is you want your shell stitches to offset one another. Just like that. So they kind of, you have your first shell here and then your second one here. So it kind of offsets and fills in that gap nicely. And then you're just going to repeat this across. So again, look for your shell, and in that second double crochet, you're going to make a single crochet. Skip that next double crochet, and in the single crochet from the previous row, you're going to make 3 double crochets. Skip that next double crochet, and in the double crochet after that, make a single crochet. Skip that last double crochet, and in the single crochet, make 3 double crochets. Skip the next double crochet, and in the middle double crochet, you want to make a single crochet. And now when you get to the end, you should have 2 stitches remaining. So you have that double crochet, and then you have that chain 3 that you skipped at the beginning. So in the top of that chain 3, you're going to make 2 double crochets. And then the 2 double crochets will count as a half shell in a way, kind of like at the beginning of the row. It'll count as a half shell. So this is what 2 rows looks like. And again, you might want to put a stitch marker in the very last stitch. And then as you make more rows, you can move them up just so you don't miss out on which stitch is the right one to go into. Now when you finish row 2, you're going to have 1 less shell than row 1. So again, if you're following along with my blanket, I made 31 chains for the row 1, so row 2 is only going to have 30 shells. And this is because we're going in between the shells from the previous row. So every odd row is going to have 31 shells, and every even row is going to have 30 shells. And if you're making a different size blanket, then you're going to have your odd rows be the same amount of shells and your even rows be the same amount of shells as well. So just want to keep that in mind because you're offsetting. Okay, so for row 3, you're going to chain 1 and turn. And you're going to make a single crochet in the very first stitch. So stitch right here, you're going to make a single crochet. You're going to skip the next stitch. In the stitch after that, you're going to make your shell. So 3 double crochets in the same stitch. Skip the next double crochet and make a single crochet into the next stitch. And again, you're just going to repeat this all the way across. So skip the next stitch, make your shell in the next stitch after that. Skip the next stitch and make a single crochet. Again, skip your next stitch and make 3 double crochets. Skip the next stitch and make a single crochet in that next stitch. Skip the next stitch, and in the stitch after that, make 3 double crochets. Skip the next stitch, and in the top of that chain 3, you're going to make 1 single crochet. So this is what 3 rows looks like, and like I said, your shells are going to offset, so you have 1 shell here, 1 shell here, and then 1 shell here. So your even rows are going to line up with the shells, and then your odd rows are going to line up with the shells. So right here you have rows 1 and 3, and then row 2 is right here with that single crochet, and then you should always have your shells line up. So that's pretty much all there is to with making the Christmas shell blanket, and I made 6 rows of each color before I changed colors. So let me go ahead and just show you how to change colors. So if I was ending with this row, I would end with that stitch that I was going to complete but not fully complete. Now if I were to complete this, I would yarn over and pull through to complete that single crochet. But if I was changing to a different color, and the next color I used was that dark green, so all I'm going to do is yarn over my hook, leave a tail. And don't forget, I'm not going to do it for this tutorial since it's just a little swatch, but you are going to cut your yarn and leave a little bit of a tail, and then you're going to introduce the new yarn by laying it over your crochet hook and pulling through with that new color. And now all you're going to do is you're going to repeat rows 2 and 3 over and over again until you get your desired length. So in this sense, you're going to chain 3, turn your work, and you're going to make a double crochet into that very first stitch. Skip the next stitch, and in the stitch after that, make a single crochet. Skip the next stitch, and in the stitch after that, make 3 double crochets. And then you will just repeat this over and over again until you get to the end. And when you get to the end, you're going to have 2 stitches remaining. You're going to skip this stitch right here, and in the very last stitch you're going to have 2 double crochets. So again, I made 6 rows of each color, and you're just going to repeat rows 2 and 3 over and over again until you get to your desired length. So let me just show you that blanket again. So for this blanket, I started off with red, then I went to that darker forest green color, then I did that mid green color or the lighter green, and then I did white, and then I just repeated this pattern. You can use any amount of stitches or any amount of colors that you want. If you want to do a different stripe pattern than the one that I have, you can certainly do that as well. It's totally up to you. Now I did not add a border to this blanket. I didn't think it needed one, But if you do want to add a border, you can definitely do that as well. You can make whatever border that you would like, but I just didn't want to make a border for this particular blanket. Now for this blanket, you're going to have the color sequence. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to have 5 sections of red, 4 sections of the dark green, 4 sections of the light green, and 4 sections of the white. So that's why when I mentioned the supplies needed for this blanket, I would definitely buy a little bit more than you would need just to be on the safe side as far as how much yarn you're going to need. You can always use the yarn for a different project, or you can always save your receipt and return the yarn that you did not use. But I always buy extra yarn just in case I run out. So I recommend buying 2 skeins of each of these colors just to make sure you have enough. And then again, if you do not end up using all of the yarn, you can always return it or use it for a different project. That's usually what I do, is I use my yarn for a different project than if I have any left over. So again, you're going to make 6 rows of each of the different colors, and you're going to start with red, the forest green, the light mid green, and the white, and you're going to repeat this sequence all over again. And I started and ended my blanket with that red just to keep things consistent. So again, 5 sections of red and 4 sections of the other 3 colors. And you're going to repeat rows 2 and 3 over and over again to get your desired width, your length. So thank you so much for joining me today on learning how to make this beautiful Christmas shell blanket. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you give this tutorial a try. You can definitely make this in different colors if you would like. You do not have to make this in the Christmas colors that I made. You can make this in any color to fit your home decor, or if you want to give it away to a friend or a family member. But I just wanted to make something for the holiday season. So again, thank you for joining me on learning how to make the Christmas shell blanket. Please like, comment, and subscribe to see all future videos by me. And as always, happy crocheting! Bye!